Aye.
No.
Okay,
Vote 4-1, Madam Chair?
yes.
Okay, thank you. With no conditions, thank you.
Well,
With
the
conditions. that have
conditions
already
is in
been
your
set-
report.
Set in your report. That were,
Is that,
yeah, the conditions that have been, that the county commissioners attached to the previous, to the other ones.
They're not identical.
no,
But, yeah, they're not identical, but there are plans for the buffers and the streets and all that kind of stuff.
There are no buffer conditions. I need to be clear on what conditions you're recommending. 'Cause
yeah,
the two have different sets of conditions, they're not identical. You got one that has to deal with a sign, an echo circle, and the other one's got no sign referenced, and like I said, you'll see that they are different. There are
Well,
similarities.
so
The
you've
one-
got staff recommendations on page 6.
Yeah,
Right, but my recommendations are very different from what y'all's have been.
Right, these are
yeah,
one,
that's what I was thinking, that was it, with the staff recommendations.
Well, between the two, the one probably most applicable would be the one he already has for his other 19 project.
Right, so if you like the conditions on page 7, 1 through 4, if you want to make those the identical conditions, because those are different from the echo circle, and mine are almost opposite, so,
Okay.
yeah, if you want to go with basically the SBX 2021-12 conditions, I can communicate that,
Okay.
I can do that.
all right. So we're all clear,
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
let's just restate that for the record. So you're making a motion,
To approve it with those conditions that you said.
the SPX 2021-12,
Right.
numbers 1 through 4.
Yes.
Now, let's, for instance, in condition 2, we talk about removal of trees from the east side landscape buffer must be replaced, which I guess works sort of in this case, but this means that Mr. Smith or anybody who buys afterward would have to replace the trees that he's placing on somebody else's property. Now, it does require the maintenance, continued maintenance of the retention pond, so that does work for this particular proposal.
Okay. Is everybody good?
Yes,
Okay. So with those conditions, you're still a second?
yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I still vote no.
Okay. Okay. So now we're going to item C, which is the variance for the setbacks. Variance 2022-01, MKLJ Holdings, 3060 Crest Highway, State Route 74. C2 setbacks, we will open the public hearing. Does anybody have questions for Mr. Smith? Anybody have questions? Jeff?
No, I don't.
Joel?
No, I have no question.
Sam?
I don't have any questions.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the public hearings? Public hearing.
Make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Chair, I'll just remind the board, in this particular case, this is the final say, so whatever you vote will be the final decision on the variance request for the setback variances, as depicted, I guess, in this case on the plan. Unlike the, of course, the special exception that doesn't go under the Board of Commissioners.
Right, this does not.
Correct.
All right. Any discussion? Any discussion on this?
Well,
Setbacks?
yeah, is he gonna build right up to the property line? I mean, the step up or the side, no?
If you look at your plan, you can see
I mean,
Yeah.
it-
these things.
You got this, Sam?
yeah, I do.
Again, just to call your attention to it, you'll see there is a building line that says 3 feet, but the buildings aren't that close to the property line. But nonetheless, they're asking for it to be moved to the 3-foot line.
3 feet.
If you look at the plan, you'll see the building line. Yes. You got the property line and 3 feet away depicted as the building setback. Even though the buildings aren't that setback.
Aren't that so bad?
Well,
And
how
then it
far
says-
set back are they, the buildings?
That would be a question from Mr.
1 inch equals 30
All right,
feet.
so, may I speak now? All right, so if you look on the entrance when you first come in off 74, the green row on your left would be set 3 foot on the fence line, on the property line next to Dollar General Protected Pond. Then when you go up and turn to the west where it elbows back to your left, if you'll notice on the aerial, that's not a perfectly square map, that it's kind of chopped up at an angle, like it's bigger on that end and smaller on this end. So the 3 foot setback would go from that corner and it would make this a straight road here, and it would make it work with the 20-foot drive aisles here to get down each side. Now, on the far west side, the 3 foot would actually sit on the 3 foot property line. 3 foot meaning that we would have enough room to get back there. There's not much maintenance on it, it'll be asphalt behind it, so there won't be any grass to cut. The only maintenance will be if, we've cut down all the trees. If for some reason a storm or something blows a piece of metal off, 3 foot would give us enough room to go back there and screw a new piece of metal up.
I see.
The front guy line is by the state, I'm just asking for the sides.
Mm.
And if I can speak, again, if you'll notice when you come in, the retention pond has to go on the east side, so you can't drive over the retention pond. That's why you need the 3 foot to come in to get your drive aisle to get in there. And that would be, like I said, up to the Dollar General retention pond, and you won't even see any of this coming west or east because, you know, they let their retention pond grow up so much, it's like it's just covering everything.
So this mostly just affects the western side of your property?
Correct.
Okay.
And does that, oh, I have my glasses, does that say 5 foot landscape buffer?
Yes, ma'am. The lady in the back on the west side of the second house had some concerns. So what I did with her is, when we had the machine out there cleaning off the trees to get it kind of ready, if it did happen, we cleaned off some trees on her land, and we agreed to come back and plant some nice trees back on her land, so it didn't even affect the buffer on her side. We would put the trees on her actual property, so she didn't have to look at the back of it.
Now, what's her name?
I'm sorry, Sam. I traded trucks today, and my notes are in my truck. They sent my truck to Griffin to where they were wholesaling. I don't have anything other than this piece of paper I printed.
Okay. She's just being covered up. It's got Dollar General on one side and stores, buildings on the other.
Well, she's got a house between her and Dollar General.
That house is, I'm not sure who it is, but there's a dilapidated barn in the back that's fallen in, so they won't be able to see it either for that old raggedy barn back there.
I'll say. So you're talking about the second house.
Correct. The second house would have the most visibility from her back window. She's sitting in her house. She could see through the opening that I've created in the back. So to make her happy and not have somebody mad at me, I went to her before I even started it and suggested what we do, just not to have another situation like the last one I had.
Right.
And she and I come to terms, and I've already set up for her yard to be landscaped, and her husband are tickled pink. And you can put it, if you do allow it, you can put it in writing that I follow through with that, you know, but
Okay.
Any other questions?
No.
Do I have a motion? A motion with conditions, whatever? For the setback? Variance?
Man, I'll make a motion that, I mean, this is very specific to this particular piece of property. You know, we have setbacks for a reason. But in this case, narrowly defined, it doesn't seem like the setback has a negative impact. So the only thing I would say, I would recommend approval with the caveat that Mr. Smith is required to follow through with all these promises that he's alleged. So if we could somehow put that in writing as a caveat to the approval.
Meaning the landscaping
Yeah, the
It was approved
landscaping
for the-
and
resident
the second.
behind it?
the
Second house?
alleged tickled pink
That's the second house.
second house that he's gonna go in there and plant. What kind of trees you gonna plant?
They're called abrasia. They're like a cedar tree, but it will only get 7 or 8 feet. It won't grow like those cypresses that grow 20-something foot, die, and then you have to replace. This will only get like 8 feet. I just planted some in my backyard, but abrevia.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know
And
the name of it.
she's good with that?
Sir, yes, sir.
You said you were gonna landscape her whole yard.
I'm gonna line those trees up all the way down her yard, so she doesn't have to see the back of my
No,
store.
that's not landscaping her whole yard.
Well, I mean,
Well,
to
he
her
said
back
he
line,
took,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm
he
not-
took
That's
the
what
tree.
I understood you to say, man.
Is that Peggy Kenyon?
That's her.
Yeah, this Leonard and Peggy
Yeah,
Kenyon?
she just moved here from Florida. I'm sorry, Texas.
Yeah, and the house on the other side is Donald Mills.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he removed the trees and he's gonna replace those trees
Yeah,
down that line. He's
yeah.
gonna landscape, but
And that needs to be done before a spade of dirt is turned over.
Can I speak one more
Yeah.
time? Back here in the back where if you look on your big map,
Yeah.
she's got a drop off over here. And we're gonna move some dirt around off my land to make hers better. She's got a real bad wash problem. And
Right?
I suggested to her that when I have that guy out there with the bulldozer and the tractor and the dump truck, let me go ahead and fix her wash problem, and then I would address it at that time. So she's got a little more extra that I promised her.
Okay. I mean,
You know,
I
if you
understand
see
all that.
her
I just want you to fulfill, if this board approves your variance, I
Yes.
want you to fulfill your obligations that you've expressed to get the variance.
Sure.
You following me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in here just blowing smoke up you.
Well, I hope not.
alright. So,
So I made a motion
With
to
conditions.
approve.
With
yeah,
conditions.
go back through those
With the-
conditions. Go, what you
All right.
made a motion to approve with what specific conditions?
Well, the primary thing is that he's made a promise to neighboring, in order to appease them, And maybe he can clear, how many neighbors have you made promises to?
So the guy on the east
One guy
end,
you're gonna buy a truck for.
we haven't agreed on, he didn't care about any landscaping.
I mean,
or
maybe we
anything.
need to get into that. I'm just being
Oh,
sarcastic
that's
now,
fine.
but, I mean, what kind of truck are you gonna buy him?
He didn't say, he just said, he was feeling sick the last time I talked to him, and he said, what kind of price did you have in mind? And I told him, and he said, well, maybe, and then he said, well, how about you in the car business, you find me a newer truck, bring it out here and we'll talk. And that's kind of where we left off.
So you're not really in agreement with that neighbor?
But that doesn't have anything to do
No,
with
it
this
doesn't
piece of
have
property.
anything to do with the variance.
With this piece of property.
Because the
Other than-
variance is on the other side.
Right, I understand. All right, so what promises have you made to the west side neighbors?
All right, on the bottom one, there was no promise next to the Dollar General, because they have this barn and an old
Oh.
fence back here that blocks them. And
But you've spoken to them.
I spoke to them, but I'd rather not say on open records what was said. It wasn't nothing negative, but it wasn't something that you want to talk about in here either.
Did you make them any promises?
No, I didn't make any promises. Maybe I won't never go back to the house again. I won't never see me again.
Oh,
I mean, it was kind
so
of,
it
you don't
was
want
not,
to
it
go, you know
was
what I
not a
mean?
pleasant exchange, is that what you're saying?
No, it was a different experience.
Oh, okay. But the next lady,
It's as sweet as they come, right?
you made promises to move some dirt
I promised to
and
move
plant some
dirt
trees.
and run her whole back road, the whole length of her property to, where she won't be able to see any of my storage units. For
Okay.
her back in her den, in her house. Matter of fact, I went in her den and looked at what she'd be looking at.
Okay. So,
And that's Miss Kenya.
That's correct.
yeah. So the caveat, I guess, is the only I just want to fulfill the promises he's made to his neighbors.
Okay.
Otherwise, I mean, like I said, the setbacks are there for a reason. Is to, so you're not building stuff right up next to the property line, that would visually impact the neighbor. So,
So you're just saying if he'll list what he's gonna do for Miss Kenyon and put that in this exception, then you're.
yeah, and I think he needs to do it, he needs to do that before he turns the first shovel to make sure it gets done.
Well, he's
Well-
just said he can't do that because he's gonna use the dirt from
Okay.
moving off of his property
To
to
fix
fix
her-
her
To
backwash.
level her yard.
Right.
Fix a
So
yard.
he can't do that until he starts doing stuff
The
with his
project,
property.
before the project's done, he'll take care of Miss Kenyon with everything that's
Okay.
been promised.
All right.
And you don't give me a CO on it until it's done.
Yeah, he don't get.
Yeah, but by then you've got your buildings built 3 feet from your property line.
But he
I
don't
We're
get,
promise
kind of,
you that.
we're kind of stuck with it.
he don't get a CO till it's done.
Well, I guess he'll have to disassemble them buildings and tear them down. So, that's.
So
yeah.
your motion is to approve the setbacks
With the
with
ca-
the conditions that he fulfills the obligation of planting trees and leveling her backyard for Miss
Peggy Kenyon.
Peggy Kenyon.
Yes, that's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Ah,
All right,
That was unanimous, thank you.
yes. All right.
Just to address Mr. Smith. All right, so you've been approved for the variance, but you, of course, the special exception has not been approved until the Board of Commissioners. Of course, if they don't approve it, then the variance doesn't matter.
Right.
But that's where we are, so we'll be at that July meeting. I think I gave the dates in the staff report. And of course, the sign will show up, there'll be an ad in the paper.
All right, thank you. That's it.
Yeah. All right, so moving on to, going back to item 3, Old business is the discussion of the animal ordinance revisions. Now, I know I missed the last meeting, and you guys, I think, discussed this.
We did,
Correct?
we did have a discussion.
We would set up, we'd do another
That we would do
set a date for a work
a,
session.
Okay.
to focus strictly on this ordinance.
Okay.
But we tabled it for your return, High Commander.
You know, you just put it off, right?
That's pretty much what we did.
That's what I
Well, I
thought.
wanted to honor your
I think that's called
esteemed
passing the
leadership.
buck.
We didn't want you to miss a work session.
Thank you, thank you.
I was hoping y'all would do it while I was gone.
Okay. So did y'all set up a date for?
No,
work
we
session?
did not establish a date.
Okay. All right.
And Madam Chair, we do have a guest here, so if you want to solicit his input now or just wait until the workshop, that's whatever you, at your pleasure.
Yeah.
Did you guys have something specific that you asked for Adrian to
Well,
come forward
he
from last
came to
meeting?
the last one, did he not?
He did,
And
Okay.
and
he
did a
briefed us
superb
on
job.
issues that he has and so forth and so on, that I would like for him to come to the work session,
I'll be there.
so that we can specifically address any concerns that he has, and perhaps even stuff that we're not even thinking of, that, you know, he would tell us what, you know,
Yeah, because I
what
think,
may, so we can make his job easier, and maybe put more teeth in the enforceability of the ordinance.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for me is we can put a lot of words on a piece of paper, but if you guys can't enforce it, if it's not something that you can easily enforce, doesn't do us any good.
Yeah, it doesn't do any good, it's just.
And I think that's where, Adrian, having your input helps us hopefully achieve that, to make it more complete, maybe I
sure,
should say.
with him and his colleagues being on the front line of this every day,
Right,
you know, his input is very valuable.
right.
You know, so we
Each where the
do-
rubber meets the road, so to speak, on animal control.
Okay.
Um, So with all that said, I guess all we have to do is pick a date
Right.
and a time and a location.
I do have
That's-
one question. When you were here last time, you made a statement that said there were 2 licensed kennels in Upson County.
Oh, yeah, you said it. I told you I only knew about one. I saw another one. I've been to that one you talked about since that last meeting, the one out on Crit that got approved. Now, the other one that you were talking about on Winter Street, I don't even know if they,
No,
working yet.
all I want is the name of the 2 that you spoke of. You said there were 2, if I remember
The
correctly.
one on Crit Highway is Lycos Pets or something like that, and then the one on Willingham Springs is, the big metal building. What is that, Doug? Black Dog Kennels or something?
There is a kennel on North Delray Road.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I don't
is
even
that
think
3
they
now? Is
actually
that
have-
2 or 3 or what?
I think they more of a dog breeder. I don't think they have a kennel. I think
They got a lot of
sell-
dogs out there,
Yeah,
let me
they
tell you,
got
Dave.
100 dogs, but they sell dogs.
They're not selling them fast
keeping-
enough.
They're not keeping dogs for like boarding like
So,
others.
so is that not considered a kennel?
It's under the state got control of that. We don't handle that. Only way we would have to go to her area if she had a complaint about neglect or something.
Okay, so she does not have to have a business license to
Oh, yeah.
operate.
I mean, she does, but that don't go through the animal shelter.
Is that
That
true?
It goes through this,
Yeah,
the business
state
license,
Department of Ag
the
does
Department of Agriculture
actual
does the
shel-
certification.
License for the kennel, And the business license doesn't go through up here, the county, we don't do anything with
So,
that at the animal
so
shelter.
you're saying that she would be required to have a business license, is that correct?
Yeah, she gotta have that.
Is that true?
True.
Okay, there is a license.
I'd have to look that one up, I don't know.
Please look for that.
Well,
See,
is
we
it
don't-
true
we wouldn't
that
get no
the
call
county
about
can't?
kennels. We can't approve kennels and stuff to be opened up. All that stuff go through the Department of Ag, that's state stuff.
You mean breeders?
Yeah, breeders or kennels. They
Or
got some
kennels.
people that just board, do boarding, some people breed dogs to sell. That lady that he talking about, she breed dogs to show and sell. She do dog shows and she sell dogs. So,
And do we have a name and an address?
it's on North
I
Delaware.
just pulled something up on Google. I'm Susan Jordan. What I pulled up, it says Showboat Kennels on 629 North Delray Road. And what's listed on Google, it says Dog Breeder. The other one is Thistle Creek Kennel,
Just pre.
which is at 968 Windsweep Farm Road.
That's
And it
one we-
says
That's the
pet
one
we did- we
boarding
did that.
service.
Yeah, that's one we approved.
What did they
So
say?
that's all, I didn't look into it further, but that's quickly what I found.
Thistle Creek, what did they say they offer?
It says, nestled on 34 and a half acre farm.
It's big.
I saw on Facebook,
But I don't even think.
We
they-
did that.
That's just a boarding,
Okay.
Yeah, we
I
did.
know they got a big building, but it's always a gate, they got a gate now.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to go back
Yeah.
there.
yeah, it's just
Well,
a bit,
but
it's just
they
a
do
boarding.
have some social media kind of stuff, Facebook or whatever, that's, y'all could check, but that's what I found initially.
Well, I have this question. He says that the state regulates these kennels, okay, fine. Does that preclude the county from being able to say, part of the ordinance is that our animal control will inspect
Well, they do
twice a
inspect-
year
We
these
can
kennels?
still do the inspection, like if
To
the
make
state
sure they're in
comes to
compliance with the
inspect
state?
Shelter, if the state comes in to inspect the kennel, they'll call us out to go with them, cause that's why we went to the one on Chris.
Well, they
Because she called
probably
to come
only,
do an inspection, last week. So when they
if
come.
I
they
had
call.
to guess, they're probably only going out if somebody files a complaint.
They're supposed to go twice a year, every 6 months, cause they come to us every 6 months. We fall under the same category, us having the animal shelter, everybody fall under the same, we gotta have the same license that those two kennels would have.
Right, okay,
Based off of how many animals you're able to house.
right.
And Madam Chair, to answer his question related to what can local government do versus state regulated, there are some state regulated industries we may not do anything with because that's what state law says. And there are other businesses that we may do a little here, a little here,
Tweaking.
because state law allows us to. For instance, taxi cabs, local government stay away. Do not do anything, don't talk to them, don't regulate them, don't charge them anything. Taxi cabs, local government may not do anything, that's a state regulated industry. Agriculture is the same way. We may not do anything with agriculture, they're exempt from this and exempt from that.
So is a dog kennel considered agriculture?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess I share the same concerns that Joel has. I don't know, he hadn't really expressed them.
You wanna make sure they.
But I want to make sure that our kennels are in compliance and they're clean and, that you're not overbreeding dogs out there that end up with 2 heads and 4 tails and, because you're genetically, whatever. There's all kinds of horror stories when it comes to animal breeding, so
They have pretty.
that would be my only concern, is that if in an ordinance that at least we honor that, that the county cares for the animals. That's in addition to, nuisance animals.
Madam Chair, would just depend on what you want to put into the ordinance and how much it duplicates what state law already requires.
Yeah,
I mean, how much do you want to duplicate? Obviously, they have to be licensed, so there's a lot of regulation. Do you want to duplicate what the state has said that they're going to do
Well,
already? Or do
it
you want
may
to
just
fill in?
suffice that we authorize in the ordinance or command in the ordinance that our animal control go out and make sure these places are in compliance with state regulations. And then demand that they, if they fail, that our animal control contact the state and take some positive action.
If they're state regulated, then the state's gonna be the ones responsible, and then that they're just gonna call you when they come.
Yeah, I worked for the state for 30 years. I know how the state operates. They're not Johnny on the spot.
Well,
Okay.
there is a pretty elaborate website. They do have a phone number that you can call them. Joel will probably set up and go and do a tour of the place, but everything's right here. You know, it's,
But let's see if we can come to agreement on a date.
yeah.
And let's see if we can hash it out there.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I think the magistrate's, meeting room has worked fine for us in the past, so that would be our location.
Okay.
And certainly if it's after hours, I don't know that she's ever had a problem with that, so then it's just a matter of whatever date and what time you want to start.
Okay.
And of course, I'll have to check out with the magistrate, but just give us the date or dates and we can see what works out, and I'll contact you from there.
Yeah. Do you have a date in mind, Madam Chair?
Just,
How about a day of the week? Is anybody objectionable to a particular day?
Fridays.
Yeah, I figured that was coming. Nobody wants to.
do you want during the day or after?
Anytime during the week, during the day.
What's good for you?
I
Yeah.
can do it while I'm at work, that's just fine. It all pays the same.
Yeah. So, I mean, maybe 3 o'clock one afternoon. How long we think it's gonna take?
Probably just 7
7 o'clock.
Couple hours.
Yeah, I would say that most times people's seats can't do more than 2 hours, so you may be less than that, but I don't think you'd want to plan anything past 2 hours.
Okay. So 3 o'clock on a Thursday or a Tuesday or a Monday?
Tuesdays, you need to stay away from Board of Commissioners, but if you
Yeah.
do 3 to 5, you're probably okay, as long as I don't need to be preparing for the Board of Commissioners.
All right. When is that?
Second and fourth Tuesdays.
Okay.
What about, I know this is short notice, but what about this Thursday? The 16th?
I'm here,
What time?
3 to 5.
Is that 3 o'clock?
5?
Yeah, I can do Thursday 3.
Yeah. I can be there.
What is that date?
The 16th?
It's just that,
You work that night?
I don't know, I'll have to
Or
find out tomorrow.
On Tuesday,
Thursday?
Thursday.
This Thursday?
And I'll check with the magistrate court. If that location's not acceptable, maybe we can have the small conference room back there, or even in here. We'll just have to see. There are
Well, let's,
alternative sites.
Let's get an alternative date in the event Jeff
16th.
can't make it.
Doug good at sending emails out. Whatever they y'all come up with, just email to me.
Okay.
He can call y'all.
So we're gonna try for the 16th. Do we need an alternative date in the event that one of us is jammed up? Or do we
What
care?
do you,
I say let's just stick with the 16th.
Let's stick with the 16th, and then we'll
Okay.
figure out from there.
If it falls
Okay.
out, it falls out.
Falls out. All right.
All right.
Cause they've been falling out for a little while anyway. We got some fallout room.
Obviously, there won't be time for a newspaper ad, but we'll at least alert the media that the workshop's being held.
Well, looks like we got some media here. So they're getting it firsthand.
Okay. All right. Thank you for being here. Hopefully we'll see you Thursday.
Yeah. Hey, the magistrate, you said magistrate, have it right now.
Yeah, and that's what it is, unless I find out with Virginia's office tomorrow that there's a problem.
Keep the same paperwork.
There you go, yep. We haven't changed off of that draft, draft 2, with the date of May 9, 20, that's what we're working from.
The next draft will be the final anyway, one.
Well, I hope so. I mean,
That's optimistic right there now. We'll take that.
You'll be the one who we send to the commissioners anyway.
All right.
well,
So,
the commissioners have not, how much work have we provided them that they have not taken action on? You mentioned the gateway ordinance.
And also the tiny homes ordinance.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking about building a tiny home.
Better get on
Get
it.
it in before the ordinance. I built it on, yeah, I
better
just
get on it.
built it on the courthouse lawn, maybe. I don't know.
Well, good, do that in the city, because then you have to get your permit
I was
in
gonna
the
say,
city.
that's a
Well,
whole other,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah, that's a good place to build it right there.
I beg to differ. The courthouse is the county.
That is true.
That is true,
Yeah, but
that is true.
courthouse is-
Well, the building may be, but the land use jurisdiction is the city.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Find another corner.
But,
right.
Yeah.
Other business, item number 5 is our biennial review of rules and procedures. I think everybody got one of these.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions or additions, changes that you believe we need to make?
There are none from staff, Madam Chair.
I will comment, I think that we all meet and proceed with due diligence to address the issue of today, so I don't know that we need to change anything to this.
Well, this would be the first time, I think, your biennial, we've had changes every time before, but I guess in this case, we don't have any changes, no issues have come up, which is fine. I just think a lot of times these things sit on the shelf and you don't see them for 15 or 20 years, and then you need them, it's like,
Right.
oh, we should have updated those. So I think it's excellent that you put into your bylaws that you would do this every 2 years to just say, hey, checking in, yeah, they still help us operate the way we want to operate. And you don't have to look at them for another 2 years.
Yeah.
Anything this way?
I don't have anything.
Joel?
I'm good.
All right, so do we need to,
They're good for another
Okay.
2 years.
We need to take a vote on that?
No,
Okay.
not making any changes. They just stay the way they are.
Okay.
all right. Item number 6, planning commissioner issues and announcements. Does anyone have any?
How's the new office, Tammy's replacement done?
she's coming along. There's a lot to learn, but Guadalupe Aragon is her name, and she's doing well. Does she know it all yet? Oh, absolutely she does not, but she's doing well, learning as she goes.
Anything else?
Well, repeat, before the session began, I asked you about the code enforcement officers. Can you repeat for the other?
Sure, we have 2 officers. They're both with the county for less than 8 or 9 months. They were hired about a month separate, so they still haven't been even with us for a year. Jeff Dean and Greg Napier are the 2 officers.
Right.
They both have attended GACE is their state organization, Georgia Association of Code Enforcement. This is very important to the county and to me as their supervisor to make sure they go through that training twice a year. And the timing worked out that we've been able to get them twice in their first 7 or 8 months. So
That's good.
they're getting their training and they're getting their on-the-job training. So they're doing well. It's a hard job.
Do you keep records of violations or citations?
There is a software that they use, that our office uses, called iWork, and they are to input all of those cases and update them when they can. And we have a couple of Board of Commission members who have access, view-only access, and they do look quite regularly at those records.
Okay. Well, I know that it's illegal to establish, what do you call it, a certain number of citations during a certain period of time. But I just want to make sure.
I have educated my staff that philosophically, if you write a citation, you've lost. You're not supposed to get that far. You're supposed to be able to convince them that this is their thing to do as good citizens of Upson County, that their neighbors may have complained and said, hey, this is not acceptable as your neighbor.
I see.
Now, at some point, some people don't get the idea, so yes, you ultimately do have to write citations, but we prefer to have compliance over citations.
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay.
that should be a uniform philosophy, that we should be able to have your conscience moved by either your neighbor's complaint or by the fact that the county's spending taxpayer money to remind you that that junk car's got to be moved, or your grass is too tall, or your building needs repair, or whatever the particular issue.
And how's that going?
There's a lot of work. We could probably use 4 officers,
Okay.
but there's a big deficit. And active code enforcement is not something Upson County's done for a very long time.
Well, so on this GACE program, they document the contact, I guess, right?
Unless it's an anonymous contact, which is a very popular name in the records.
Anonymous, yeah, okay. Well, all right. I'm just trying to get a gist of your process. You say if they write a citation, they've lost the battle.
Right. That's not our goal. Our goal is to get you to get in compliance because we got to get the court involved and the judges got to be involved. There's more paperwork. That's a lot more work than if we just say, hey,
I just want
you need to cut your grass.
Yeah, so this GACE thing keeps a record of.
No, GACE is their professional organization that
Okay.
trains them.
Right.
iWork is the software
Okay. All
that
right,
we
thanks
use.
for clarifying that.
Mhm.
So on the iWork thing, they document, that's their format for documenting whatever it is they did.
Absolutely.
And whatever was said, or what response they got, or?
Correct.
Okay, all right, very well.
And we have at least 2 of our Board of Commission members who are very active with read-only access, looking over those records, and if they don't see an update on certain cases, they'll ask about it.
Okay,
That's probably a weekly thing.
really? Okay, well, that's good.
All right. Anything else? Item 7, secretary's issues and announcements.
Nothing from the staff manager.
All right. In that case, if I don't have any objection, we will adjourn. All right.
6:40.
All right, then. I appreciate y'all sitting